Hi, I'm Razor Raccoon. I'm going to show you how to make a really robust AFK potion maker where you can load it up with your ingredients and your empty bottles and it will brew potions while you're AFK. Now you're wondering maybe if you saw my earlier video from a couple weeks ago where I built a potion maker, why I'm doing this again. Well, this is, I think, a much better design that doesn't use a timer. It's based on a design I discovered from a video by Hex Regulus. I'm going to link that in the description. However, as soon as I built that design on my server, it stopped working. It worked great on a private instance. So I had to make some changes to it so that it would be robust enough to handle a server, to work on a server where there was some unexpected lag issues with hoppers and things like that. So I'll explain that as we get started. Having the last two vertical, this is where all the ingredients get queued up to go into the brewing stand. They load in quickly and they don't have a gap that causes the brewing process to be interrupted. This is just one change. There are several others. To get started, we're going to place the chest where the potions are going to end up when they're done brewing. And I'm doing it one level higher just so we're not having to dig down at all. But if you want to put it in the ground and just dig down a level for some of the redstone, you could do that too. And then I'm going to place the brewing stand onto that hopper, and I should have stayed up there because now I'm going to put the hopper going into the brewing stand, and this is where the water bottles will be. So we're going to go up here, we're going to put the chest where the water bottles will go, and then we're going to put two more, again I should have stayed up there, hoppers into the top of this brewing stand. Now in the original build it was just one, but I'm putting two to make this more robust, as I discussed earlier, so that it will work on a server that's very busy. Okay, and that's the basic setup for the stuff we need. Now we're going to start adding redstone to that to make it work the way we need to. So the first part of the redstone is make it so we can turn it off. So we're going to put a block behind this hopper that feeds the water bottles in, and a block right there, and then we're going to put redstone, and we're going to put another block right here and a switch. So when we power that, this hopper will not work. Now there's other things that will depower it so that it will turn back on again if this switch is off. So if we turn it back off again, that means the hopper will now work again, and when we put water bottles in there, it'll feed it into the brewing stand. If we were to do that right now without any more redstone, it would just flow right through the brewing stand into this hopper and then into the chest. So we got to add more redstone for that. I'm going to go ahead and place a couple blocks that we're going to need later right here, and then you can place a sign to indicate on and off here if you like, just to kind of remind you that that's the on-off switch. Now we're going to go around back. I'm going to place a block behind the brewing stand, and on that block we're going to put a comparator, because this is how we're going to tell when the brewing is done based on what's in this hopper. And then we're going to have another comparator going into there. Now we need a hopper here that is not pointing into anything that can actually do something. So we're going to put this will be just a temporary block, put the hopper, then remove that block. So this hopper is pointing sort of harmlessly over here. And then we're going to put some stuff in this hopper, and in this hopper, and we're going to use this signal to decide whether we want the hoppers down there to work or not. So I'm going to put 19 blocks there, and then all but one block. So that's going to be the last, that's going to be the next ingredient going into the potion. And then here I'm going to put 19 and fill this up. So right now this is the dominant signal. It has one more item in it than this one. As soon as this one has an item in it, like an ingredient that's next to be brewed, it will we'll want it to turn off this the hopper underneath here. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to put a sticky piston here. We're going to put a redstone block, and that's going to affect a signal going into that hopper. So we're going to put redstone down here, and then a block, and then another block, redstone, repeater, and then a block right here. So the signal going into here is going to turn this off when there's something in there, so that it will not drain this until the brewing is done. Now we're going to put a delay here of one tick, just one tick for good measure, just to extend in case this piston triggers very briefly. because of a little bit of slowness in the hoppers, it shouldn't stop our brewing. It's just a little extra measure of comfort. But now the other thing we want to do is make sure that this other hopper is not on at the same time. So we're going to put a block there and put a torch there. So by default, that torch is on, which means that this hopper is powered off up here. It's because it's going up through this block, through this redstone into the back of this hopper and powering it. So that means it's not working by default because of the power. But when this comes down, that'll switch this torch off and it'll stop powering it, and it'll allow water bottles to flow in. So that's the other part of the redstone back here. That's most of the complicated redstone. Now we're going to make our ingredient queue, which is large, but it's not very complicated. I'm going to put 2 more blocks here. And we're going to come out from this middle one. I'll come out a few for now. And then we're going to do a dropper and then a hopper chain, and this is going to go out pretty far. This is going to shoot ingredients up into the hopper chain, and then they're going to go in the correct order into that top hopper. So let's do that next, but we'll speed things up to keep the video from getting too boring. Okay, so if you're wondering why I did it this way, there are 10 main ingredients in this first row, and then I have 5 more possible ingredients that you can add to enhance the potion later, like gunpowder or redstone, dragon's breath. We'll get into that a little bit later, but this I'll explain this configuration toward the end and why we're doing it this way. Again, it's something to make it more robust. Now back on this side, we want to put a lever under each dropper. I'm just going to do a few for an example, and then we'll load some ingredients into each one in the correct order. I'll show order at the end and talk a little more about that. I'm just going to do a few of them, and then you can label these. I recommend it. I've taken one of each ingredient and renamed it in an anvil. For instance, this is renamed to speed, that's been renamed to jumping, just to make it clear what each thing is. And then we're going to flip the lever off to select a particular item to go into each potion. Now we need to set up the signal for our ingredients to be fed in. We're going to use the same signal from our hoppers to do this. So we're going to have that, add a block, have that go into a dropper, not a dispenser. And we're going to put something in this dropper, doesn't matter what. Now we're going to come up a block, have a comparator come off of this hopper, and then a block off of this comparator, a redstone torch off of that block, and a block here. This is carrying the signal up and then into where we're going to put it into the back of these dispensers and hoppers. And now we're going to connect this all with a redstone signal to that powered block. That block is being powered by the torch, the redstone torch. When this hopper has something in it, it'll turn that torch off for a moment, turn these off for a moment, and back on. Just a quick flicker of power that's going to trigger the ingredients to come out. Okay? One of the most tedious things about potion making is filling up the water bottles. Since they don't stack, you have to do that quite frequently. I'm going to make this do it automatically for you. All you'll have to do is fill it with glass bottles, and it will do the filling of, fill up the water bottles for you. So we're going to have a comparator come out of this new chest I just added, and a comparator coming out of our water bottle chest. We're going to put this, maybe we'll put this started off about almost half full. Okay, and then I need one of those bottles. I'm going to start this chest about a third full. So to start with, our chest has more water bottles than this other chest that we're using for comparison. So this is what it's going to do is, like, if it drops below a third, it will trigger our device. So we're going to put a hopper there. We are going to glass this in. I'm going to put a temporary block, and we're going to you can put any temporary block you want. I'm going to glass this in, but I'm going to put a solid block here, and I'm going to put redstone on that block. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to want to fill that with water, and then we're going to want temporary blocks again. So we'll put here. There we go. All right. We just need a block there. Now we want to use a dispenser. Everything to now has been a dropper. This actually needs to be a dispenser. Okay, and now we can get rid of this block. Okay, and now we will put an observer facing, let's start with a block off of this comparator. So this block will get powered. It is powered right now, you'll see when I place the piston. Okay, so there's a piston there. Now on top of this piston, we're going to put an observer with its butt toward us. All right, so there's the butthole. You need that facing us. All right, now we're going to put an observer here. All right, so now when this comes down, they'll be facing each other. It'll send a continuous rapid signal into here, which will get transferred through this redstone dust into the dispenser, and we'll fill that up with water bottles. Now watch what happens. This is exactly what we want, I think. Watch what happens when we take some water bottles out of here, which is what will happen as we're brewing. We'll take out like less than a third, about just less than a third. There we go. So you just fire some water bottles in, and it filled it back up. If we take some more out, it does it again. Spits some empty bottles through the water, fills it up again. So that'll always have enough water bottles as long as we keep this dispenser with some glass bottles in it. I'm going to demonstrate how to do this, how to use this potion maker with a potion with a lot of ingredients. So I picked an invisibility potion. I'm going to start with night vision, reverse it with a fermented spider eye. Then I'm going to turn it into a splash potion and extend the duration. And then I'm going to turn it from a splash potion into a lingering potion using Dragon's Breath. And then we always have to add nether wart at the end for the start of the next potion and to make sure that the last ingredient is going to finish brewing. Now I've already gone through and gathered all of those ingredients for the very first potion. They're right here. And I got 2 nether wart, and the reason I did that is because we have to have 1 to start the next potion. So we're gonna put nether wart in there. The switch is off right now, so it's not gonna start. So then I'm gonna put the first ingredient after nether wart in the hopper just above. You heard the piston go, but it's not doing anything yet because we're off. And then the hopper above that, I'm going to put all the next ingredients in the correct order. Just make sure that's the correct order. So we've got first nether wart in the brewer, first ingredient, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth ingredient with the Dragon's Breath, and then the beginning of the next potion. So now when we start it, you'll see what happens. It'll load water bottles. This hopper's been turned off. That one was turned on so the water bottles could load in. Now if we look at it, it'll start brewing, and I'll speed things up so we can see what happens next. Okay, we're on the last ingredient. There's a nether wart in the hopper above that should be that's what's keeping this brewing right now. When it leaves and goes into here, because this one finishes, it should empty out, and then the next series should go in. There was a little bit of a glitch there. I'm going to adjust the timer. I'm going to adjust the repeater feeding into this hopper on the back. Maybe 1 more tick to make sure it doesn't have that flickering thing. See if that fixes it. So I think we just ended up with an extra water bottle in our output. And now it's starting the next ones. If we look, we see there's the next ingredient, and there are the rest for the next cycle. So it is working as we expected. And it will just keep pumping potions into here until we have no more space, until it fills it up, basically. If you want to, like I've been making potions of various sorts, if you want to only make a certain amount, you can fill up this chest with a bunch of water bottles with only enough space for the number of potions that you want. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going until it fills it up, and then it'll stop, and you'll have some ingredients left in at the back. Left into the feed. I went around the back. Potions are still brewing. I went ahead and just upped this 1 more tick. So it was at 1 tick. I put it at 2 ticks. So now it seems to have solved the problem. It doesn't push an extra water bottle through now. One last suggestion, since we are building this to be usable on a server that could be kind of busy and has a lot of lag, something you can do to control lag, I learned this from Mysticat, is to cap your hoppers if they're not going to be searching for anything above them. If you put any kind of container, then they don't look for things above them because they're basically just going to activate if the container status changes, and it's not going to. So this will just help. Your admins on your server will appreciate you for doing this. And finally, I added some quartz brick just to make it look nicer. This is totally optional, of course. Added some lighting around the outside as well. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I try to put out a helpful video every week, so please click like and subscribe. I appreciate it.